Here's another idea turned into a situation in the monetary system. Many of you think that the monitor you're looking at now is yours. The room in which you live belongs to your apartment, and the car in the garage is also yours. Sorry to say, but the only proof you have that those are yours are some documents. Remember what these documents are: only papers. Human imagination works overtime here, because not only those who own these kind of objects through documents feel like they own them, but others also accept them as yours. I mean, if you buy a car, the neighbour, by the power of imagination, admits that it's yours in the same way you admit that it belongs to you. It's a very risky deal based only on imagination. You can't own anything. Keep that in mind. The sense of property or ownership has gone mad, and many people collect objects in their nests that they do not use, or use rarely. Just think about decor objects. Some are necessary things, but things that people buy. The sense of property makes you your own prisoner, since you only own one house, or even more, because you're forced to go back to those places. Also, you feel obligated to take care of those objects which you think are yours. Most times, people are driven by things, goods, and they build their lives around them.
I would have been out here a little bit sooner, but they gave me the wrong dressing room, and I couldn't find any place to put my stuff. And I don't know how you are, but I need a place to put my stuff. So that's what I've been doing back there, just trying to find a place for my stuff. You know how important that is. That's the whole meaning of life, isn't it? Trying to find a place for your stuff. That's all your house is. Your house is just a place for your stuff. If you didn't have so much goddamn stuff, you wouldn't need a house. You could just walk around all the time. That's all your house is. It's a pile of stuff with a cover on it. You see that when you take off in an airplane and you look down and you see everybody's got a little pile of stuff. Everybody's got their own pile of stuff. And when you leave your stuff, you gotta lock it up. Wouldn't want somebody to come by and take some of your stuff. They always take the good stuff. They don't bother with that crap you're saving. Ain't nobody interested in your 4th grade arithmetic papers. They're looking for the good stuff. That's all your house is. It's a place to keep your stuff while you go out and get more stuff. Now, sometimes you've got to move. You got to get a bigger house. Why? Too much stuff. You've got to move all your stuff. And maybe put some of your stuff in storage. Now imagine that. There's a whole industry based on keeping an eye on your stuff. Enough about your stuff. Let's talk about other people's stuff. Did you ever notice when you go to somebody else's house, you never quite feel 100% at home? You know why? No room for your stuff. Somebody else's stuff is all over the place. And what awful stuff it is. Where did they get this stuff? And if you have to stay overnight at someone's house, you know, unexpectedly, and they give you a little room to sleep in that they don't use that often, someone died in it 11 years ago, and they haven't moved any of his stuff. Or wherever they give you to sleep, usually right near the bed, there's a dresser, and there's never any room on the dresser for your stuff. Someone else's shit is on the dresser. Have you noticed that their stuff is shit and your shit is stuff? Get that off of there. Now, sometimes you go on vacation, you gotta bring some of your stuff with you. You can't bring all your stuff, just the stuff you really like. The stuff that fits you well that month. Let's say you're gonna go to Honolulu. You're gonna go all the way to Honolulu. You gotta take 2 big bags of stuff, plus your carry-on stuff, plus the stuff in your pockets. You get all the way to Honolulu and you get in your hotel room and you start to put away your stuff. That's the first thing you do in a hotel room is put away your stuff. I'll put some stuff in here, put some stuff down there. Here's another place for some stuff here. I'll put some stuff over there. You put your stuff over there. I'm putting my stuff over here. Here's another place for some stuff. Hey, we got more places than we've got stuff. We're gonna have to buy more stuff. Yeah. And you put all
your stuff away and you know that you're thousands of miles from home and you don't quite feel at ease, but you know that you must be okay because you do have some of your stuff with you. And you relax in Honolulu on that basis. That's when your friend from Maui calls and says, hey, why don't you come over to Maui for the weekend? Spend a couple of nights over here. Oh, shit, no. Now what stuff do you bring? Right, you've got to bring an even smaller version of your stuff. Just enough stuff for a weekend on Maui. And you get over, and you're really spread out now. You've got shit all over the world. You've got stuff at home, stuff in storage, stuff in Honolulu, stuff in Maui, stuff in your pockets. Supply lines are getting longer and harder to maintain.
The sense of property is normal for the monetary system, which, by nature, is based on consumption. The hallucinating part is represented by those who admit parts of the earth as their own. Countries, cities, gardens, lands, private beaches, plantations are considered as being properties, as belonging to someone, and all in the same system that provides some papers with an old language attached as the only evidence, all based on imagination. The sense of property makes you care about certain objects. When others take those objects from you, it creates conflict. Because the monetary system is based on this consumption, it doesn't offer any such object for free, even though it's never owned anything. Through the sense of property, many people own objects they don't need, that others could benefit from, even objects they seldom use, but an exchange is not possible in the monetary system without any submission from one of the two parties. The sense of property is developed by the desire of consumption perpetuated by the monetary system. Social status is another imagination and is directly related to the sense of property. People imagine that they climb an imaginary ladder when they buy certain objects, when they complete a college course or have a job. It's a fantasy that can only exist in a system that constantly wants competitive consumers. Remember, no matter that you have 5 cars, houses, expensive watches, gold, money, you're a doctor, lawyer, teacher, mechanic, salesman, all are just imagination, only that. All are just some extensions of the human being, like technology or information. Technology seen in objects, and information in education. You are a human being who has access to a certain technology, house, car, television, computer, and certain information, school, college, experience, books, teachings, etc. Only that. None of this makes you better than another human being, especially in an unjust system.
When they say all men are created equal, that bothers me. I told you some are thin, some are heavy, some have better eyesight than others. I don't know what that means, but I think they're trying to talk about equal opportunity, and I know that doesn't exist. If you don't have the money to go to college, the word equal opportunities mean nothing.
That's all you ever hear about in this country is our differences. That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us, things that make us different from one another. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They try to divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing, happens to work. You know, anything different, that's what they're going to talk about. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything they can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank. You know how I describe the economic and social classes in this country? The upper class keeps all of the money, pays none of the taxes. The middle class pays all of the taxes, does all of the work. The poor are there just to scare the shit out of the middle class. Keep them showing up at those jobs.
The monetary system has created a race through this social ladder, and it's strange that no one asks what is the ultimate prize. For what is this fight? What is the purpose of this race?
Now, my grandmother was a wonderful person. She taught me how to play the game Monopoly. She understood that the name of the game is to acquire. She would accumulate everything she could, and eventually she became the master of the board. And eventually, every time, she would take my last dollar, and I would quit in utter defeat. And then she would always say the same thing to me. She'd look at me and she'd say, "One day, you'll learn to play the game." One summer, I played Monopoly with a neighbor almost every day, all day long. We'd play Monopoly for hours. And that summer, I learned to play the game. I came to understand the only way to win is to make a total commitment to acquisition. I came to understand that money and possessions, that's the way that you keep score. And by the end of that summer, I was more ruthless than my grandmother. I was ready to bend the rules if I had to win that game. And I sat down with her to play that fall. I took everything she had. I destroyed her financially and psychologically. I watched her give her last dollar and quit in utter defeat. And then she had one more thing to teach me. Then she said, "Now it all goes back in the box." All those houses and hotels, all the railroads and utility companies, all that property and all that wonderful money. Now it all goes back in the box. I didn't want it to go back in the box. No, she said. None of it was really yours. You got all heated up about it for a while. But it was around a long time before you sat down at the board. And it will be here after you're gone. Players come and players go. But it all goes back in the box. Houses and cars, titles and clothes, filled barns, bulging portfolios, even your body. Because the fact is that everything I clutch and consume and hoard is going to go back in the box, and I'm going to lose it all. That's not much of an ROI on that. You have to ask yourself, when you finally get the ultimate promotion, when you've made the ultimate purchase, when you buy the ultimate home, when you have stored up financial security and climbed the ladder of success to the highest rung you can possibly climb it, and the thrill wears off, and it will wear off, then what? How far do you have to walk down that road before you see where it leads? Surely you understand, it'll never be enough. So you have to ask yourself the question, what matters?
To remove this social race, you must get rid of the inequality between people through producing an abundance of goods and services, so no one would hold anything but only would use these objects or services. In fact, if there was an abundance of goods and services, we wouldn't need currency. It won't be necessary, and so there would be fewer jobs, and through education the people would get rid of the feeling of competition and arrogance. It's really hilarious to see how human beings are their own prisoners through pure imagination. It is strange how humans behave like photocopiers. Once they have established perceptions about their world, they perpetuate those perceptions and resist any change to them. You are not an intelligent life form if you trap yourself with technology and information that you created.